Welcome to The Problem Was Me. I'm your host, Tom Gagliano. I'm a best-selling author, family dynamics expert, and social worker. And we'll be discussing childhood messages and their impact on addiction, the intimacy we have or don't have, our parenting skills, the careers we choose, even the roles we're set up to play in life. Do you put other people's needs ahead of your own? Do you have a hard time sharing your feelings? Do you feel invisible? Do you have a hard time saying no to others? Do you have an inner voice screaming for help, but yet you're so afraid of allowing others to hear this voice? Well, you've come to the right show. I'll be touching upon these issues and much more from my personal and professional experiences to help you end the negative self-talk and take your life to a new level. The Problem Was Me starts now. Hello, everyone. Welcome to The Problem Was Me, with me, your host, Tom Gagliano. Happy holidays to everyone. So we're going to talk about New Year's resolutions in this podcast and talk about why we subconsciously sabotage our goals during the new year when we set these resolutions. But we're going to go much deeper. We're not only going to talk about why we can't accomplish our New Year's resolutions, but we're going to go deeper to talk about why we can't accomplish our goals during the whole year. So if you're setting New Year's resolutions up again and actions up again, and you're not dealing with the real obstacle, it's like the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So the truth is, if you make a New Year's resolution again this year, and you're not looking at the reasons why you can't keep at it, you can't continue it, you're going to set yourself up for failure. Not because you're a failure, because you're not looking at what the real obstacle is that creates this. So not only in the New Year's resolution, but also in the areas where we set goals during the whole year and we just can't follow those goals. So don't beat yourself up. I'm glad you're here. I've helped a lot of people overcome this, and I'm going to help you overcome this as well. So let's talk about, again, the obstacles that are set up, the main obstacle that's set up. Look, everything comes from originally our childhood messages, right? Our caregivers' parents showed us how to view the world and how the world views us. Our original fears come from that perception, our self-esteem, our core beliefs. They affect the intimacy we have or don't have, careers we choose, the roles we play. Even accomplishing our New Year's resolutions have a great impact on those messages we received in childhood. Those messages unleash a tsunami of thoughts, ideas, core beliefs, inner voices throughout our lives. So if we're not challenging those messages and inner voices, we could set ourselves up for defeat, a self-fulfilling prophecy before we start. That's why I always go to childhood messages. They have a tremendous impact on the way we think, the way we act, and everything else. The intimacy we have or don't have, our parenting skills, careers we choose. Even setting our New Year's resolutions has a great connection to the childhood messages we receive early on in childhood. So we're going to get into all of that, and I'm going to give you some solutions that'll help you. And as I say all the time on these podcasts, is take what you can that you can use and leave the rest. So the very first thing we have to create is healthy habits. Building healthy structure is the key. In my book, The Problem Was Me, I talk about 3 essentials. Ready? Awareness, action, and maintenance. Without awareness, I don't know what actions to take. And without actions is nothing to maintain. I'm going to say it again. Without awareness, I don't know what actions to take. Without action, if I don't maintain those actions, nothing's going to happen. Those are the 3 keys. So we have to build self-awareness first. Look, if I'm working on my shoulder and my foot's the problem, I may not be getting anywhere. So I have to be aware of those childhood messages. How are those messages influencing the actions I take in life? Now, I'm not here to bash parents. Hear me clear. I'm not. We have to hold on to the messages that have helped us in our lives. But don't you think it would help us if we looked at the messages that maybe need a little attention, that may be holding us back? The messages that say maybe I don't deserve to be happy, or why try, I'll fail anyway, or all those negative messages we might have received from our caregivers. Now look, they loved us and did as best as they could. but they can't give us what we don't have, what they don't have. If they didn't have self-esteem, if they were afraid of the world, if they were having all of these character defects and they weren't doing anything challenging them, they're going to hand it to us. So again, we're talking about New Year's resolutions, but this connects tremendously on those New Year's resolutions. When you stumbled, did your caregivers tell you it's okay, get up? Everybody makes mistakes. Or did you get the nonverbal look or the messages that maybe you weren't going to make it? The stories you make up from there have a profound effect on the next actions you take or don't take. Were you supported by your caregivers? Again, this is not knocking them, but again, they're handing down to you what they received. But those early childhood messages, everything begins in the home early on. So if you didn't get the best messages, or maybe some that weren't good, even if they loved you, but they were fearful, afraid of the world, they handed that down to you, trust me, non-verbally or verbally, maybe in the affect that they looked at you. So we have to be aware of those messages. Now taking action. Taking action becomes a we process, not a me process. Creating a support group of people that they know your resolutions or goals, you know theirs. And now we're a unit. We could do for each other what we can't do alone. Texting them early in the morning. My resolution was to stop smoking, lose weight, go to the gym, whatever they are. Texting them and them texting you their resolutions, their goals to help each other. Texting them in the afternoon. I did it. I didn't do it. It's okay if you stumble, but you got to get up. You got to get up. If you stumble and you stay down, it beats you. Texting them back. I did or didn't do it. Maybe you want to stop smoking. We'll get into all of this stuff in a little while when we get into the to-do list. But right now, my point is making it a we process, not a me process. Get a little support group going. Tell everybody, each other, your resolutions, the goals you have. Support each other to go forward. Make sure your support group are not judgmental people. You don't want to have people that are going to tell you what you're doing wrong all the time. You want to help people that when you speak to them, you feel better. You feel supported. They put muscles on your shoulders. Create that support group. That's the biggest piece. In the second piece, action. So the first is awareness, creating the awareness to know what messages have held me back and what messages have helped me to challenge those messages, bring them out to the open, don't keep them down, and then go to actions, your support group, to have them help you move forward in your life. The third essential, maintenance. You got to maintain these actions all the time. If you're only going to do them Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, you'll eventually stop doing them. And that's what happens when we have New Year's resolutions. We may start out strong, willing, and then we lose energy. Your support group might help you do that, but you got to be consistent. You got to maintain those consistent actions in order to do that. Because what will happen is if you start to lose energy, that fear will paralyze you and prevent you from trying. You'll start to buy into the belief. And more than that, you'll lose faith in the process, believing again, here I go again. I can't do it again. Time traveling back to here I go again. I can't do this. I can't accomplish anything. Maybe even a message that you don't deserve to. You don't deserve success. Could be a message too. Many people come to me that are procrastinators and they think it's because they're lazy. And I challenge them on that. Is it lazy or is it your childhood messages saying, why try? I'm not going to succeed anyway. Why try? Do I deserve happiness? Maybe I don't believe that. Challenge your childhood messages. It may not be laziness. I had a client come to me once. I'll never forget it. This guy was a computer genius. He's working for somebody, making a little more than minimum wage, and his boss was beating the tar out of him. Abusive, terrible, telling him he's no good, this and that, and he stood in that job. He came to me for sessions. I got him in my men's group because men groups are very important, the we process again. And we made him make a commitment that after the New Year's, he was going to send out resumes, and he didn't want to do it. He was comfortable in inappropriate behavior. Why? This boss was his father. Time traveling. He wasn't his father for real, but he gave him the messages that his father gave him, that he wasn't good enough, he didn't deserve to be happy. So he put out resumes through group and me helping him to do what he would have never done by himself. Long story short, he got a much better job and made a lot more money. A longer story short, he started his own company and he made tons of money. We gave him what he didn't get in his own childhood, the feeling that he could move forward in his life. He could grow. He could do that. You know, childhood messages also affect so much of the intimacy we have or don't have. I came from a horrible childhood, a childhood where my father was multiply addicted. My mother was taking me to hotels to catch my father. It was a disaster. And I could tell you from my messages, if I didn't challenge those messages, I would have led a very lonely life. I did not trust intimacy. I would not let anybody close to me. And when they did, I sabotaged it. How did I know all this? I challenged my childhood messages. I wrote the book, The Problem Was Me, and it was me. I had to challenge those messages. I could hope the world changed, but it was a little easier changing me. So we have to remember that we have to work on ourselves first and foremost. So first, awareness, I have to build awareness. What childhood messages may be holding me back? Which ones I want to keep? Action, when I build the awareness, the actions become so much easier because I realize, hey, it's obvious what I got to do. It encourages you to move forward, but it's a we process. Again, I'm going to talk about this in more detail after the break. A we process, allowing others to do for you what you can't do for yourself, and then maintaining those actions. Because if you don't, when you start to falter, when you start to stumble, whether it's New Year's resolutions, whether it's believing you're a good parent, whether it's intimacy, whatever it is, when you start to stumble, you're going to crash. In my book, The Problem Is Me, I talk about the warden, this intrusive character, fictitious character that sat on my shoulders and always told me I didn't deserve to be happy. Beware of intimacy, you're only going to get hurt. And I made up a ton of stories. And let me tell you about the stories we make up. They'll kill you. When you have negativity in your head, the stories you make up as to what you think will happen are never, ever going to be good stories. You're going to awfulize them and always think the worst is going to happen. And if you don't talk about those stories, they will become real, whether they're imagined or not. They will be your self-fulfilling prophecies. Trust me on this, they will. So I got to surrender them, talk about them to other people. I'm a recovering addict as well. And if I didn't allow others to hear the things that were going on in this head of mine, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. Lord knows where I'd be. So again, to have people you could tell about what you think is going to happen and get their feedback, that they know your blind spots, that can help you move forward, is so important. So when we come back after the break, we're going to get more into building a toolbox to help you not only succeed in your New Year's resolution, but succeed in your relationships, succeed in the goals you set, succeed in your parenting skills, succeed, and not let that intrusive voice, that warden, tell you what you should do. Back in a minute. Hi, welcome back to The Problem Was Me with me, your host, Tom Gagliano. So we spoke about childhood messages and how they impact the goals that we set during the year and New Year's resolutions. So we're going to go a little bit deeper into some of the things that you can do now. Okay. Number one, minimize your goals. Walk before you run. Don't try to create unrealistic expectations, because those unrealistic expectations are only going to cause predetermined resentments. Trust me, I know that. Don't look to lose 50 pounds in a month. Lose 5 pounds. Go slow. Maybe you can't completely stop smoking right away. Cut it down. Just stay on, again, the maintenance program, as I said earlier. the action and the maintenance program and slowly cut down. Going to the gym. Don't run 5 miles your first day. Go slow. It's so much better. It's like the tortoise. I have a tortoise, by the way. You got to see me. It's this big. I love them. Anyway, besides that, go slow. But if you keep moving forward, even 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, you'll be surprised how far you could come in time. But you got to keep moving forward. That's the key. So don't create unrealistic expectations. Make sense? Okay. I just want to throw in one piece. Diets are great. It's a great way to lose weight. But if you want to keep the weight off, it's important to maybe do exercise more, not just look to stop eating whatever you want to eat, whatever, but put exercise on your plate. It's like a recovering addict. I tell all the time in one of my podcasts, and I'll go over that in a minute, I don't want an addict to just stop their addiction. I want them to stay stopped. Big difference between stopping and staying stopped. That's what my podcast was about, and that's what I did on Transformation Talk Network about as well. Not only how to stop if you're an addict, but how to stay stopped. So again, diets are great, but I would encourage you to put exercise on your plate with the diets. It's a better way to keep the weight off. Okay, just wanted to throw that in there. So again, my first piece is minimize your goals. Okay, walk before you run. And don't put so much pressure on yourself. Those unrealistic expectations are going to cause predetermined resentments. Okay, number 1. Number 2. 1, 2. Positive affirmations. What I want you to do is create some affirmations. Put them on individual index cards. I can do this. I can succeed. I deserve to be happy. I'm a loving child of God. If you're spiritual, whatever they are, put those affirmations on individual index cards. Then put the affirmations on the mirror in the bathroom. Okay? When you brush your teeth or go in the bathroom, read those affirmations to yourself. And here's a little trick that I heard. I didn't come up with this, but I heard it. If you're a righty, brush your teeth with your left hand. If you're a lefty, brush your teeth with your right hand. Why? It'll make your brain focus more on what you're reading, the affirmations, and look at yourself in the mirror. That's key. Sometimes we're the best saboteurs in the world. We're the ones that sabotage our happiness. Looking at yourself and telling yourself you deserve to be happy, that you can do what you need to do. Looking in the mirror has much more power. So again, brush your teeth with your opposite hand, look in the mirror, and say those affirmations. And if you ever want to email me, I can give you a load of affirmations and do maybe 3, 4, whatever you want to do, the ones that fit best for you. So affirmations and also spirituality. I'm not saying everybody's spiritual. I am, but I always bring God into everything. I say, God, give me the strength to move forward in my life. Help me overcome my obstacles. It's me. I'm not telling anybody to do that. It's me. It's one of my affirmations. Another thing, identify your real fears from your imagined fears. This is a we process. Write your fears down on a piece of paper. What are real and what are imagined? Because if you don't expose the imagined fears that you have, the stories you're making up, they will become real whether you imagine them or not. And they will stop you. They'll become a self-fulfilling prophecy and stop you from moving forward. So write them down. One side, the fears, imagine fears. And then again, go to your support group, the we process. Tell them yours, let them tell you theirs, and decipher them. Because if you don't, the imagined ones will stop you. Trust me on that. I always use this example of walking across the street. We have to have a real fear, right? We can't run across the street without looking. That fear we got to hold on to. But what if the imagined fear tells you it's so terrifying on the other side of the street that you never go there to find out? That you never cross the street? That paralyzing fears get you stuck in the mud? You could always cross the street, and if it's not good enough, come back, right? But what if you could never cross the street? What if those imaginary fears, again, the stories you're making up, Could be real, could be imagined. But if you're not coming from a positive mindset, you're going to awfulize those fears. So take a fear inventory, write them down. And I didn't mention this yet, but sometimes you need professional help too. Like for my clients come to me and I can help them decipher what's real and what's imagined. I can help them decipher and challenge the stories they're making up in the future that they're not able to challenge. Their best thinking doesn't always help them. And that's the next piece. Does my best thinking help me? Sometimes my thinking could be my worst enemies. It could sabotage my happiness. I got to expose that thinking because if I'm only talking to myself, might be talking to the wrong person. So what is healing, recovery, moving forward? Sometimes it's painful. Sometimes it's doing things that we don't want to do. Sometimes it's doing things that we don't believe will help us. But do we stop and not go forward? And if can we go forward without the help of other people? Sometimes we can't. Sometimes we're, as I say, stuck in the mud. We can't. We need people to pull us out, to nurse us to health, to help us. I'm a fellowship guy. That's what I do. Every client I have, I try to get him connected to some kind of fellowship because I truly believe that we could do for each other what we can't do for ourselves. And I always try to get them connected to wherever I think might help them. So again, minimize your goals, walk before you run. Don't make unrealistic goals. It'll create predetermined resentments, and then you'll just shut down the first time you stumble. Positive information, positive affirmations in the mirror. Keep saying them. Takes 10 seconds. Morning, night. Keep saying them. What you say, you will believe. Sometimes our best thinking's not working. We can't go by our best thinking. We got to get our feet sometimes to places, even when our head tells us not to. Get your feet to the gym. Get your feet to places that'll help you, even when your head's telling you not to. Your head's going to follow your feet. Get them there. Identify your real fears from your imagined fears, so you don't let your imagined fears become your reality and guide your actions, right? And do all these things. So I hope that this podcast, YouTube has helped you. Take what you can that you can use, leave the rest. You don't have to agree with everything I say. Trust me. Take what you can use, leave the rest. And if you want to hear more about me, if you go to my podcast, you put in the search bar, The Problem Was Me. That's my best-selling book with Dr. Abraham Twersky, wonderful human being. Put that in the search bar in Spotify or iTunes, and you can listen to all my podcasts, and they're all connected to childhood messages because I really believe that we have to challenge them. Hold on to what's good, but identify the ones that need attention. Not knocking parents, but we could only give our children what we have, and they could only give us what they have. And in those podcasts, you'll find out ways to enhance your parenting skills, way to enhance the intimacy in your life. We talk about holiday stress and the messages that go into holiday, going back to family of origin, and the roles we were set up to play from our family that we are so powerless over. We go right back and play those roles, even if we know they're not healthy. You'll hear about addiction, not only how to stop, but how to stay stopped. So go back on the Transformation Talk Radio Network with my previous podcast, or you can go to The Problem Was Me in the search bar on Spotify and iTunes and listen to my other podcasts. I have 24, 27 of them, forgot. But they'll all help enhance the happiness in your life because remember something. As I always say, you're the key ingredient to your happiness. You're the common denominator in all your relationships. Always work on yourself. And remember something, sometimes we confuse self-care and selfishness. It's not selfish to work on yourself, as long as you are empathetic and kind to others. But work on yourself because you're going to be the common denominator in all those other relationships. It's not always easy, especially when we have childhood messages that confuse us into what's enabling, what's codependency, what's selfishness, what's self-care. That's what I talk about. I'll see you in the, wait, I'll tell you, time flies. I'll see you in the first Tuesday of January at Transformation Talk Radio again. And if you have any questions, send them to my email. I'd love to answer those questions. Be well. Have a great holiday. And again, I hope that you can succeed in your New Year's resolutions and all the goals you set during the year. Be well. Thank you. You've been listening to The Problem Was Me with me, the host, Tom Gagliano. Tune in every first and third Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific time on the Transformation Talk Radio as I help you break the cycle of negative and addictive thinking affecting the emotional intimacy you have, your parenting skills, the careers you choose, even the roles you were set up to play. As a high-profile leader in addiction and self-help, I've helped develop unique methods and procedures which have helped numerous institutions and individuals. For more information on how I can assist you creating a healthier life, visit theproblemwasme.com.